Oscar Piastri claimed the first Grand Prix pole position of his Formula 1 career by edging out George Russell in China. Piastri, who was twice previously topped sprint qualifying sessions, came out on top in challenging windy conditions at the Shanghai International Circuit to make it 2 poles from 2 for McLaren this season. The reigning Constructors' Champions looked set to secure a front row lockout as the pole contenders struggled to improve on their second runs in Q3, but Russell sprang a surprise to push Norris down to third. Max Verstappen was fourth for Red Bull, while Lewis Hamilton could only manage fifth, a pace ahead of Charles Leclerc following his victory in the sprint earlier. Isaac Hadjar drove superbly to take seventh, edging out Mercedes' Kimi Antonelli. Yuki Tsunoda was ninth in the other Racing Bull, further increasing the rapidly growing pressure on Liam Lawson, whose nightmare start to his Red Bull career continued qualifying last again. Alex Albon completed the top 10 for Williams as Carlos Sainz continued to struggle to match him, qualifying in P15, but McLaren had been expected to dominate in China after a strong opening weekend in Melbourne, which saw Norris win and Piastri only missed out on second due to the challenging wet conditions. But that all changed when Hamilton took sprint pole for Ferrari and then backed it up over 19 laps to suggest predictions, most notably from Russell, of a McLaren-dominated season may be misguided. While it was clear that at the start of the season that McLaren were in the mix for pole, there was once again far more dominant than expected, with Verstappen appearing perhaps the most likely challenger as Norris topped Q1 and Q2. Piastri had been the most comfortable of the McLaren drivers in the sprint, finishing second while Norris took eighth, but was visibly struggling in the early stages. However, it mattered most in Q3, and that's when he discovered his form to top the session, just edging out Norris. In the fluctuating conditions, improvement was hard to find for all drivers on the second runs, but Piastri produced a stunning final sector to further 600ths of a second and deliver 1:36, which his rivals couldn't match. Russell was the exception, overcoming what had been a tricky session for Mercedes to surge into the front row in a dying seconds. Piastri said, "I found a lot of pace in Q3, Q1 and Q2. I was genuinely struggling with the car, but came alive in Q3. The let-ups were a bit scruffy, but I'm just pumped to be on pole." While the 23-year-old is on Grand Prix pole for the first time, he has twice won full-length races before in Azerbaijan and Hungary last year, and will probably be the clear favourite for the start. Piastri's devastating spin-winning contention for victory at his home race last weekend left him 23 points back from Norris in a potential title battle between the two. So he'll be looking to make up some of that deficit tomorrow in the race. And before I go, let me run you through the classification for the race. And Piastri on pole, great job from him. Really delivering when it matters. I think Norris will be disappointed, especially to be beaten by Russell, but incredible job from Russell. You have to applaud him there. Verstappen in fourth, Hamilton in fifth. Ferrari's pace just seems to drop off a bit, and maybe Red Bull's as well from the sprint, so I think they'll be disappointed with that. Leclerc got a bit closer, but I think Hamilton's still doing really well to beat Leclerc. Hadjar seventh, probably the star of qualifying for me, along with Russell. Unbelievable job, to beat Antonelli and Tsunoda. I know Tsunoda made a mistake, but still, Antonelli I think probably disappointed not to be one place higher, but when you look at where Lawson is, he's doing a very respectable job in my opinion as a rookie. Tsunoda ninth, probably disappointed not to be a few places at least higher if he got that lap in. Albon 10th, great job for him to get into Q3, especially with Sainz struggling. To be honest, I thought Sainz would be a bit closer now, especially when you see like Hamilton's now seems fully ingrained with his Ferrari, so a bit disappointing for him. Ocon 11th, good job from him, and Hulkenberg 12th, both much improved in their sprint positions. Alonso as well, getting a better Stroll, but Aston Martin maybe not as competitive. And then Gasly, just really disappointing from Alpine. I think they'll be really disappointed with that. Expected more from him from the start of the season. And Lawson 20th again. It's just not going well, is it? It just seems like that Red Bull is impossible to drive, and something needs to change soon, because let's face it, his career Red Bull is going to be over pretty quickly if it continues like this. And then the rookies, Behrman, Doohan and Bottas, and maybe just not having quite the same pace they did in sprint quali, which would be disappointing for them, but they're still learning. Anyway guys, that's it for this video. Thanks very much for watching. Remember to like, share and subscribe. Follow us on our socials, link in the description below for daily F1 news, meme and content. Subscribe to our other channels on screen right now, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace out.